and also remembering the hundreds that died in the 18 days of that uprising. In Bahrain, hundreds have marched in support of the country's ruling monarchy in the capital, Manama. This came as thousands attended funerals for 4 people killed when the country's security forces attacked pro-democracy demonstrators on Thursday. Protests have also been taking place in Yemen and Libya. In the last few minutes, we heard reports that a grenade was thrown at protesters in the Yemeni city of Taiz, injuring several people. Security has also been tight in the capital, Sana'a, during this Friday prayers. Thousands are expected to take to the streets for an 8th day in what is being called a Friday of Rage. Well, joining us to talk about the situation in the Middle East and what we're seeing right now is Mahjoub Zouairi, a professor of contemporary history in the Middle East at Qatar University. Joins us, of course, here in the studio. Thanks for coming in. Let's start with Egypt. Certainly, we didn't think that we were going to see tens of thousands again gathered in Tahrir Square. I mean, Hosni Mubarak is gone now. It's been 1 week. What do you think these people are trying to send? What message are they trying to send by gathering once again in the square today?
I think the figures says that there are nearly 2 million. So basically, they send a clear message that still their demands are on the table. The government or the military board should take them seriously. They are able to march more than 2 million again in any Fridays, and they are able to mobilize people in the street. This shows that these are the serious demands. The government should take them in seriously.
But certainly the government, the military council has been very keen to show that they are taking them seriously. They've taken a number of steps to show that they're committed to a democratic transition. They've dissolved the parliament, for instance, and say they're committed to holding elections in 6 months. Do you think that these people in Tahrir Square trust the military today?
I think so far they trust them. They believe that they should give them a time. They think they are sincere. But I think the priority today, as I was watching, that the people, they want the military board to form a new government. They don't want to see the old faces. They believe that those are corrupted people. This is the government formed under Mubarak, so they don't need to see this government again. It was a very clear message in Tahrir Square today.
Okay, well, let's talk about the unrest elsewhere, because it seems that the uprisings in Tunisia and Egypt are giving people in other areas of the Middle East some ideas. In Bahrain, for instance, there's been discontent in the past in Bahrain with the Shia community complaining of being marginalized by the minority ruling Sunni. But do you think it's different this time around? Do you think the winds of revolution are also blowing on Bahrain?
I think you used a very accurate term. It's unrest. So basically we are moving, we are now in a stage where there are unrests in Bahrain, in Yemen, and in Algeria. We are not really arriving to the stage where there is a revolution. I think, we have to look at them case by case, because basically each of these countries, it has its own social context, its own political context, political structure. And I think in the case of Bahrain, there is but they are, all of them agree on 3 things. One, they are against authoritarianism and autocrat. They are against injustice. They want freedom. These are 3 principles. They want them.
But Bahrain, of course, is much smaller than Egypt and Tunisia, but nonetheless, the international community, the West in particular, and the United States is watching the situation there very, very closely. What are the wider strategic implications of unrest in Bahrain, not just for the US, but also for countries such as Iran?
Yeah, I think the main concern on the GCC countries today is a possible role to Iran. So basically, they don't want to see an external factor playing a role. So I think this is the main motivation to see the foreign minister have a meeting yesterday in Manama, because in the case of other countries, there is no role to any insider player. So, but the case of Bahrain, there is kind of understanding that Iran is playing a role in a way or other.
Okay, thank you very much for your insights, Dr. Mahjoub Zouairi, joining us here in the studio in Doha on AlJazeera. Now, let's move on to other news now. The Japanese whaling fleet is heading home after its annual whale hunt was cut short by almost a month. The government says it's because of harassment by the anti-whaling group Sea Shepherd. Veronica Pedrosa reports.
With light beams and smoke canisters, Japan's whaling season comes to an abrupt halt. And now it's official.
For the safety of our fleet, we regret that we have to end the whale hunting survey.
The whaling boats had already suspended the hunt, turned around and headed home after being hounded by a hard-line anti-whaling group. Boats from the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society had been chasing the leading ship, throwing flares and stink bombs.
It's regretful that these disruptive activities took place. So from our point of view, we would like to make sure such things don't happen in the future.
The Japanese boats are allowed to hunt for what they say are scientific purposes. But critics point out the whale meat not used for study is sold for people to eat in Japan. So they say the real reason is profit.
The key here is an economic one. We have to sink the Japanese whaling fleet economically. We have to bankrupt them. And after 6 years, that's exactly what's happening. We come down here every year stronger. They come down here every year weaker. And we're going to drive them out of the sanctuary.
Japan's decision to end the whaling season early has already been welcomed by another government.
In the view of the Australian government, it's not time to celebrate until we get a decision from Japan that they are stopping whaling for good.
And there's a potentially greater threat to the whalers. They're subsidised by the Japanese government, but they've only killed about a fifth of their quota. Having ended the season early, they reportedly stand to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. Veronica Pedroza, AlJazeera.
A Beijing court has upheld the conviction and 8-year sentence given to a Chinese-born American geologist for stealing state secrets. Chu Feng was charged in July for obtaining information on the Chinese oil industry. His appeal lawyer argued that the information about the oil industry was widely available. The U.S. ambassador to China was in court and urged Beijing to release Chu.
This has been a long, difficult, and painful ordeal for Xue Feng, but not only for Xue, also for his wife Nan and his 2 kids, Rachel and Alex. We have remained in regular contact with his family. We ask the Chinese government to consider an immediate humanitarian release of Xue Feng, thereby allowing him to get back to his family and his way of life. He is a U.S. citizen, and we take this case very, very seriously.
The death toll from Haiti's cholera epidemic is still rising, and while far from over, figures suggest the outbreak is being contained thanks in large part to an under-recognized team of doctors. Lucia Newman went to meet some of them.
The Artibonite, the only source of water for these villagers who use it to wash, bathe, and even defecate. The same river that is spreading cholera throughout Haiti. Here, where the cholera epidemic continues to cause havoc, we find a team of Cuban community health workers.
You can't drink the water without chlorine. Mix each packet with 10 liters of water.
These are the unsung